Ever wondered how a single letter could ignite a century-long conflict? Welcome to the origins of the Israel-Palestine conflict. The year was 1917, and an important letter was written, known as the Balfour Declaration. It was Britain's pledge of support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. But this declaration was far from straightforward. You see, the British, in their diplomatic maneuverings, had already promised Palestine to the Arabs as an independent state. They'd also assured the French government that Palestine would be an internationally administered zone. And to make matters even more complicated, most of Palestine was still under Ottoman control when these promises were made. Imagine that, 3 promises to 3 different parties, all conflicting and all centered around the same piece of land. It was like a complex game of chess, where the players were nations and the pawns were promises. And so the stage was set, promises were made, and the fuse of conflict was lit. How does one resolve 3 conflicting promises? Let's delve into Britain's Middle Eastern strategy. A tangled web of alliances, promises, and political maneuvering, Britain's strategy in the Middle East was a precarious balancing act. On one hand, they had pledged Palestine as a homeland for the Jewish population, a promise encapsulated in the Balfour Declaration of 1917. On the other hand, they had assured the Arabs of an independent state in Palestine, while also promising the French government that Palestine would be an internationally administered zone. How did Britain attempt to reconcile these divergent commitments? The answer lies in a complex dance of diplomacy, political expediency, and strategic interests. However, the aftermath of these decisions led to a century of conflict. Rather than bringing peace, Britain's strategy only served to embolden the opposing sides, intensifying their claims to the disputed land. Britain's strategy, far from resolving tensions, only served to stoke the fires of conflict. In 1936, the embers of discontent burst into flames. In the land of British Mandatory Palestine, a fierce wind of revolt was stirring. Arab Palestinians, fueled by resentment over increasing Jewish immigration and the Jews' economic dominance, rose against their oppressors. This uprising was not a mere outcry. It was a full-fledged revolt, a passionate expression of a people's longing for sovereignty. Arab Palestinians directed their fury not only against the Jewish immigrants but also against the British, the supposed peacekeepers. They launched attacks on British military installations and Jewish settlements, their frustration manifesting in a wave of violence that swept across the land. But how did the British respond? They found themselves scrambling for an answer, caught off guard by the intensity of the revolt. They attempted to quell the unrest, but the damage was done. The seeds of conflict were sown, and from this point forward, the tension would only escalate. The revolt marked a turning point, escalating the conflict to new heights. Fast forward to 1947, when the United Nations stepped into the fray. Amid the haunting echoes of the Holocaust, the world grappled with a monumental decision. The question was simple, but the implications were profound. How to address the competing claims of Jewish and Arab communities in Palestine? The United Nations, in a move that would forever shape the region, voted to partition the land in the British Mandate of Palestine. The plan? 2 states, 1 Jewish, 1 Arab, living side by side. A seemingly fair resolution, but one which overlooked the deeply rooted tensions and historical grievances that had long been simmering beneath the surface. The vision of coexistence was met with staunch opposition from Arab states, who viewed the partition as a continuation of Western colonial interference. The Jewish community, scarred by the horrors of the Holocaust, saw it as a beacon of hope, a chance for a homeland. The UN vote, meant to resolve the conflict, instead set the stage for a century of strife. From a single letter to a global conflict, the origins of the Israel-Palestine conflict are complex and deeply rooted in history. The Balfour Declaration in 1917 set the stage, with Britain's endorsement of a homeland for the Jewish people in Palestine. Yet this promise was tangled with Britain's prior assurances to the Arabs of an independent state, and to the French of an internationally administered zone. The ensuing conflict was further ignited by the revolt of 1936, as Arab Palestinians responded to rising Jewish immigration and economic dominance. The United Nations vote in 1947 to partition the land into 2 states, 1 Jewish and 1 Arab, marked another pivotal moment. The echoes of these historical events continue to reverberate in the present day. We hope this video has shed some light on the origins of this enduring conflict. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below.